Hello everyone, Austin Becker again here for the second video of Austin's Automotive Advice. And today we have a very important topic for you guys. I think that anybody from a car enthusiast to a new car buyer to a family buyer could really appreciate. And this will be kind of the first video in a kind of a series that I want to create around really honing in on what the right questions are when you're considering buying a car, whether that's new or used. Things to just consider before you're really going into anything car related, and just kind of figure out what vehicle is going to be the best type for your needs. And so that's why today the question is, which type of vehicle is specifically right for you and for your specific circumstances. And so that's kind of what I'm going to be going through today. All the different vehicle types that kind of I see, kind of some of my favorites, some of the pros and cons, different things like that. We're going to be using some pictures, and as well as my Hot Wheels cars. I have a pretty big selection of those, so those will help with some of these presentations as well. So the first debate, if you're looking into buying a car, which again I would never not consider a car because of how versatile they are with with the fuel economy and the amount of people that they can carry, the amount of stuff you could throw in the trunk, several things like that. So today though, kind of the debate is should you buy a sedan versus a coupe? And first off, the differences between these cars, they're both, silver economy cars. One, of course, is a Civic, the other is a Volkswagen Jetta, and they're both, these two specifically are the performance variants of each car. But, as you can tell, the Jetta has 4 doors, such as my BMW here, and the same car has 2 doors, which is a coupe. And so that's kind of really the main difference between the two, is that one has 4 and the other one has 2 doors. As well as a sedan will typically have more room, be a little bit more, family oriented. Again, a lot of them have the fold down seats, which sometimes the coupes will as well. But coupes are more of the performance variants of the vehicles, not just from a model standpoint, but from a look standpoint. They're definitely more on the sporty end, or more of a track focused look. For example, you will never see a Camaro Mustang Challenger in a 4-door variant, unless you're talking about, for instance, like a Charger versus a Challenger, because they want them to be more of the sports car. They don't want them to be as much of a family carrier. And so just something to consider when you're looking at a car. And again, I would never discount these two. I've had several different sedans and coupes so far, and driven a lot of them, and for the way that they handle on the road, for the way that the amount of people and stuff that they can actually carry, they're very versatile. And I would never say to buy an SUV over one unless you truly need the SUV, which again we'll come to that in a little bit. The next 2 vehicles for models would be the hatchback and the wagon. Now, I'm not going to lie, I personally right now own a 2014 Focus hatchback. And I'm a huge fan of both these styles. I think that they are by far some of the most versatile vehicles on the market right now, whether you get a hatchback or a wagon. And part of the reason for that is that typically like a hatchback, like for here we have a little Mini Cooper that I brought along, or like this Fiesta ST, you get a lot of fun in a very small package, and you could still hold sometimes a lot of people, sometimes a lot of stuff. Now, for instance, with like the Fiesta ST here that's on the screen, which is the turbo variant of that car, it's a very enthusiast-focused model. It's one of my favorite models from Ford. But more importantly, again, for you guys, the information to know that wagons are definitely going to hold more stuff. Yeah, they might not be the prettiest thing in the world, but I'm just telling you, these things are as versatile, if not more, than most SUVs are. And if you look up online or look anywhere else, sometimes even these wagons will actually have seats in the very back that actually face toward the window, like the old Buick Roadmasters and such. And so they can be very versatile. They have a lot of cubic feet of cargo space in there. Again, the hatchbacks don't have as much, but again, they're more targeted toward the enthusiast crowd and people that just want to have a little bit maybe better handling car than what the wagons are. Not to say that the wagons can't handle, but again, it's bigger car, more mass to move. And so it just kind of goes with the physics of it all. But yeah, those are the next 2 that are on the list to kind of compare from. The third is probably the most popular right now out there, which is the minivan versus crossovers. Now, I know many of you are going to make the joke that, minivans aren't that popular anymore, and minivans are kind of, dumb when you're driving around and stuff. But honestly, for those of you that have owned a minivan, or for me, kids always say, Austin likes to drive the minivan at the college because, it's such a versatile vehicle, and honestly, I do. I think that vans, yes, sometimes the motors are a little bit hard to get at with that, front being so smashed up. But they're so versatile with the space, and even if you don't have a huge family, if you're a person who is like me, where you own a lot of bicycles, you go mountain biking a lot, you're a lot into the recreational kind of things, and still haul some small things, a van can be a great option. And I think that, of course, this is a big segment with the Chrysler and Dodge, but don't again, definitely don't discount your Honda, Toyota, other brands that have minivans out there and stuff. They make a lot of good stuff, and honestly, those can last for a long time. The next segment is probably the most popular right now across the board. All manufacturers, as you've probably seen some too, have kind of gotten rid of some of their car segments because people are going into the crossovers, which again, a crossover is pretty much just an SUV style on a car frame. And so, for instance, the CR-V is actually based off the Accord, which is their sedan, Honda's sedan. That's actually underneath, basically, the whole platform is basically the Accord, and then on top is just basically, a little bit higher up for ground clearance, which, again, does come in handy in this state with, all the snow that we get. But, this is probably the most popular segment where, yes, you can do a lot with it, can handle a few people in there, has still, quite a bit of cargo space, pretty versatile overall. They still handle pretty well. They kind of handle like a car because, again, it's based on the car frame. And so always a good choice, like the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Subaru Forester, which I owned one, different things like that. They're just, they're a very versatile vehicle. And again, both of these would fit a lot of needs. If you were somebody that maybe wanted the more performance or more of a sporty look, I would definitely tend towards a car. If not, if you want to maximize your space or your ground clearance and such, I would definitely shoot for one of these two. The next one is always, I think, the most, I would say, behind the crossover right now because people are definitely still tending towards fuel-efficient cars. These would be the next most popular. So, for example, we have the pickup and the SUV, and so I have a silver BMW SUV and a silver pickup. And kind of the big differences is that, traditional SUVs and trucks are both body on frame. They're old designs. A lot of the old ones, like this Ford, which used to be my dad's, still has the traditional leaf spring suspension. Pretty old school. The ride's kind of rough, but you can haul a lot. Same with the old SUVs. Like my mom has a Tahoe. On the screen is a Nissan Pathfinder. And again, those are just older designs. They ride a little bit rougher, but they can still carry a lot. They're pretty versatile, off-road. People like to choose, older Jeeps and such for that kind of thing. And so again, this is another choice you have to make. I would make the argument to many people that you do not need a truck for most situations. And the reason I say that is because if you bought an SUV, we'll just say like a Chevy Tahoe, a Chevy Suburban, Ford Expedition, even like a Nissan Xterra that's on the screen, or like a Pathfinder, which is kind of the same thing. They're very versatile where they can still handle people, have your stuff, basically in the back comfortably, especially if you bought a bigger SUV, we'll just say like a Suburban or something, where you can still have a lot of stuff. You still have basically that 6 or 8 foot bed that you would get in a pickup with a little bit better ride. You can still haul things, and they typically don't cost as much. If you are truly hauling things all the time, or if you live on a farm, work on a place where you're maybe hauling lumber for construction or for various jobs, or if you're hauling like, let's just say, boats or snowmobiles or different recreational stuff all the time, or throwing things in the back like consistently on like a weekly basis, then by all means definitely get a truck. But for many people, I think out there, for probably roughly 80% of probably truck owners really don't use their trucks to their full capabilities and what they're kind of designed for. And a lot of people pay the price because they are pretty expensive, especially if you buy, we'll just say like a diesel or something. But again, I would urge you to get something that handles a little bit better, is a little bit more fun to drive, different things like that. From my perspective, after driving a lot of different types of vehicles versus a truck, not to say that a truck is bad, but just really, consider all your different options before you choose a vehicle. Again, that's what this video is designed for, is to help you guys choose the correct vehicle for your specific interest level and your specific needs. So, again, any feedback you guys give me is, super critical for this. If you guys want to argue with me about, certain aspects of why you need a pickup or why you need an SUV, that's great, versus we'll just say like a crossover, sedan, whatever you're going to buy. And so, again, I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments and stuff, and that's just kind of my opinion, my perspective that I've had driving several different cars. The last and final one, and then we'll kind of get to the other 3 cars that I have up there, is going to be the sports car or roadster. Now, if you guys are, any of you are enthusiasts that are watching, or people, that are just like, yep, we're maybe a little bit older now, we have, some money that we can afford to buy a roadster, or a car that's really just based on driving. It's just out there for the fun of driving. It's just basically there for your personal enjoyment. And these cars typically will just have your, your 2-seat configuration, not really made to haul much, kind of like your Sunday cruiser. A lot of people, of course, will still buy like a classic car for that, but these are really just driver-focused cars, really based on like getting you connected to the road and really just enjoying the overall experience. Maybe you can take your kids along, it's with something like this as a passenger, taking somebody out like on like a date or something. And so typically the bigger 3 that I always see with this, and again, we have actually a Beamer Z8 Roadster here on the table, which I didn't include in this, but the Mazda Miata is going to be probably your number 1 sports car. People always say that the answer is always Miata, and after sitting in one, driving one, I can say that they are a very, very nice car. They're very fun to drive. They're not that expensive for many people. You can pick up older examples for, definitely under 10 grand, sometimes under 5 grand. And, or let's just say you want to, step up a little bit. The Honda S2000 is another popular convertible. People will take them out, on different cruises and such. Very smooth car, very reliable. Both those 2 are awesome options. If you're looking for more of a hardtop option, again, people are, because we're in America, the Corvette has always been probably the top dog, as people say, for, really the 2-door, coupes that really excel like on the track and different things, and, are just great for cruising and being kind of a sports car. Now, I know I didn't include many other cars that are on this list. People will probably comment again, or, say that other cars are sports cars. For example, on the table here we have a Mustang Shelby, a Camaro, and a Challenger. And again, some people would consider those sports cars. However, I would say that those are truly just pony cars, where they are a 2+2 configuration, which means 2 seats in the front, 2 tiny seats in the back. So the seats in the front are bigger than in the back. And they're not as compact. They're not as tight to drive. They're not as just driver-oriented as some of these cars are. These are very hardcore, like driver's cars, a lot of them, and some of these can be as soft or as hard as you want them to be on the road and different things, and we can get kind of into that in other videos. But now kind of you guys really have a good understanding, I think, of all the different types of cars you can buy, all the different body styles, and which one's going to actually fit for your specific needs. And so with that in mind, guys, I hope that you guys have a great rest of the week, a wonderful weekend coming up for you, and just, enjoy the warm weather that we're supposed to be getting here in Minnesota. And again, if you're looking for a car, definitely, consider all the different types. And yeah, look forward to seeing you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of the day.